And intense Israeli airstrikes hit the south of the Gaza Strip, killing and wounding dozens of Palestinians, including in areas where Israel had told people to seek shelter.
Israeli troops and tanks also pressed their campaign against Hamas in the south of the enclave after having largely gained control of the now devastated northern side of Gaza.
Israeli tanks entered southern Gaza near the territory's second largest city of Khan Younis on Monday. Armored personnel carriers and bulldozers were also seen as Israel expanded its operations. The Israeli army said it was taking aggressive action against Hamas and other terrorist organizations in the southern city.
Military spokesman Jonathan Conricus said Tel Aviv was not trying to displace anyone. He said the Israeli armed forces are not trying to move anybody from anywhere permanently. Many Palestinians fear a repeat of the displacement of more than 760,000 of their people that took place during the war that led to Israel's creation 75 years ago.
The United Nations Rights Chief Officer has voiced alarm that hundreds of thousands of Gazans were being confined into even smaller areas in the south of the besieged strip.
The Israeli army released footage showing what it said were ground and air operations against Hamas targets in Gaza. In the video footage, Israeli soldiers could be seen carrying weapons and firing towards what they said were Hamas targets. Aerial footage showed destruction of what the Israeli army said was Hamas infrastructure. Senior Israeli military officials admitted around 2 civilians have been killed for every dead Hamas fighter in the Gaza Strip. One of the officials said, and I quote here, "I'm not saying it's not bad that we have a ratio of 2 to 1. They added that the use of human shields was part of Hamas group's core strategy.
And as per the Gaza officials, nearly 16,000 Palestinians, 70% of them women and children, they have been killed in Israeli strikes since October 7th. As many as 80% of Gaza's 2.3 million people have fled their homes since the Israeli bombing campaign that has reduced much of the crowded coastal strip to a wasteland.
احنا من غزه جينا هنا على اساس انهم قالوا لنا ترحلوا يا عم ترحلوا من غزه بلدكم فيها حرب طلعنا من غزه رحنا على الجنوب زي ما طلبوا لكن هاي اللي لقيناها في الجنوب ايش بدنا نسوي والدار كلها اللي نزحين فيها كلها هذا لسه ما سجلش اصلا.
The main telecom company in the Gaza Strip said that mobile telephone services and internet connections had been cut across the territory. The president of the International Committee of the Red Cross said that she had arrived in war-torn Gaza, warning that the suffering there was intolerable.
We have to find solutions to this. We can't turn away from what is evidently a moral failure in the face of the international community.
The United States said that it was asking Israel to let more fuel into the Gaza Strip. Fuel which powers generators for electricity and other humanitarian aid had entered the besieged territory during a week-long truce that ended on Friday.
We had some very frank conversations with them about the need for fuel to come in, and we saw some fuel go in Friday. We saw additional fuel go in Saturday, but it's at the level of fuel that we were at before the pause began. We've made clear we want to see it back up, not just to the level of fuel that went in during the pause, but actually higher numbers than that, and are having ongoing discussions with the Israeli government about how to get there.
The WHO chief has said that the Israeli army had told the UN Health Agency to empty an aid warehouse in southern Gaza before ground operations in the area made it unusable.
On the other hand, the Israeli army denied telling the World Health Organization to empty an aid warehouse in southern Gaza within 24 hours. The Israeli Defense Ministry body responsible for Palestinian civilian affairs hit out and said, from a UN official, we would expect at least to be more accurate. All right, for more of this, we are now being joined by Professor James Russell from Montreal. He's Associate Professor in the Department of National Security Affairs at NPS, where he is teaching courses on U.S. foreign policy in West Asia. Welcome to the broadcast, sir.
Thank you.
So, just need to start off right away with this. We've already witnessed the destruction of northern Gaza, and we have had several discussions with you in the past on this as well. Now they've ramped up attacks on southern Gaza as well. What will be left of Gaza and what comes next?
The Israelis are intent on destroying the infrastructure, which is going to make the destruction in the north look like child's play. They're going to flatten the place, destroying whatever is left of the infrastructure for the civilian population. We're going to have a humanitarian catastrophe, which is unfolding before us. The World Health Organization, for example, pointed out that as many people could end up dying of disease in the conditions that are going to be created after the destruction, which we're seeing unfold before us in southern Gaza. And as for the end game, I can't tell you. I'm mystified at this. You can't bomb your way out of a political problem. You can't kill your way out of a political problem. This has been tried before in many situations around the world at different times in history, and it doesn't work. And it's not going to work for the Israelis. All that is going to happen is that we're going to see a new era of terror unfold. They're creating a steady stream of, I mean, if Hamas was looking for a recruiting tool for its ranks, the Israelis have delivered it to them, right? There's going to be long lines at the recruiting station for Hamas after this is all over.
Children who've lost their parents, and of course parents who've lost their children, there will be, their seeds have been sown for future conflicts to come up here.
Right, Professor Russell,
Exactly.
speak of how the civilian casualties in Gaza at the moment is paramount. Talking about the U.S. statements that have come out, U.S. earlier said that Israel is receptive to its messaging of minimizing civilian casualties. But the latest statement from the White House, where it clearly says that it is too early to draw any conclusions. What do you make of these contrary statements coming out from the White House?
I don't know what to make of them. The Kamala Harris has been over in the region, again, forcefully stating the American point of view that Israel is supposed to exercise restraint. Secretary Blinken showed up in Israel again, adopting a more forceful tone for the Israelis to exercise more restraint. But I can tell you, it's going to take more than just talking about this. The United States shows zero ability to influence Israeli actions in this matter. I don't see the Israelis throttling back on any of this, and which makes the Biden administration just look weak and ineffective. And this whole thing has been a debacle for American foreign policy. To see its closest ally, freely now slaughtering the Palestinians, American credibility is in shreds. You can't make this stuff up, but it's just an unmitigated disaster for the United States and its interests in the region.
Professor Russell, also, does this latest offensive, and as you mentioned, one can expect the attacks in southern Gaza to be worse than what we saw in the north side of the Gaza Strip. Will this eliminate any chances or all chances of a hostage deal going forward?
It's a good question. It seemed as if Hamas, had placed itself in the position where it was going to offer up some of the hostages as bargaining chips, so to speak, to, get these pauses to sort of and potentially create the prospect for an off-ramp, right, for all the parties involved in this. And regrettably, of course, that off-ramp has not been taken by either side, and the fighting has resumed. And this just this is just another of the terrible footnotes to this whole situation, that we could see now the further death of more innocent civilians, be they hostages or be they innocent Palestinians, whoever it is. It's just the list of bad things that is going on right now in Gaza just keeps piling up, and I don't see this getting better anytime soon. The Israelis are committed to some kind of military solution to achieve a political end that I can't understand what it might be. But this idea, I guess they think they're going to want to occupy Gaza and do so indefinitely, like they've done on the West Bank, and force the Palestinians in Gaza into more refugee camps. I mean, it's just, what's the end game here? And I don't think the United States has in any way been effective in helping to outline what this is supposed to be. I just, it's just...
One can't bomb their way towards peace. Thank you so much for joining in on the broadcast, sir.
Thank you.
Right. Professor Russell, always a pleasure to have you here on World DNA with us. Thank you so much for joining in and sharing your insights.
My pleasure.